For anybody who changes his principles depending on whom he is dealing, that is not a man who can lead a nation.
18th of July 1918, Venzo, Umtata, South Africa. A boy is born to the couple of Noskani Fanny and Gardla Henry. The boy was born in the THEMBU royal family, which was a subdivision of the Xhosa Empire, which was ruled by Gardla Henry at that time. The boy was named as ROHILALA Mandela, meaning the troublemaker. ROHILALA Mandela, at his early age of 7, was sent to a Methodist school by his mother. He was named the English name Nelson at the age of 7 by a teacher. Nelson Mandela studied law at the age later on in the University of Fort Hare and University of Witwatersrand. He practiced law and later on became a lawyer, and in 1944 joined the African National Congress. After joining the African National Congress in 1944, just a few years later, Africa's first country, named Gaza, declares independence from Britishers. In 1947, there's a long war between Africa and the Britishers between 1947 and 1962. At that time, there was a long war, and Africa later on gained independence. The war started when Nelson Mandela was at the age of 39, and at that time, there was a new regime named Apartheid being released by the Britishers to calm down the power of Africans. As you see, fellow Africans were black and they were seldom white. You could say that the population between the black and white, also known as the factions between both of them, were just 10 to the 90. The whites were only 10%, while the blacks were 90% of the population. You could also say they were just a piece of bread and a drop of mayonnaise on top of it. Apartheid did not last long, as Nelson Mandela fought for it later on. We'll take care of that later. Nelson Mandela fights for apartheid, having a lot of demonstrations going on. As you can see, there's also one speech he says right now.
The reality can no longer be ignored that we live in an interdependent world which is bound together to a common destiny. The very response of the international community to the challenge of apartheid confirmed this very point that we all understood, that as long as apartheid existed in South Africa, so long would the whole of humanity feel demeaned and degraded. The United Nations understood this very well, that racism in our country could not but feed racism in other parts of the world as well. The universal struggle against apartheid was therefore not an act of charity arising out of pity for our people, but an affirmation of our common humanity.
This speech right here was given by Nelson Mandela after the release of apartheid from the country. This was given in 1994 in the United Nations Conference. As United Nations were against apartheid, Nelson Mandela is actually telling how bad apartheid is and how bad racism is actually overall. Nelson Mandela, who was the political activist, fought against apartheid and was known many names locally. He faced a lot of political pressure and finally went underground in 1961. He resurfaced back up and got arrested near a roadblock in 1963. Like that, he got arrested in several occasions and faced 4 trials against treason. He spent 27 years in jail and spread humanity even while he was in prison, telling how apartheid was bad and how we all could live together and how blacks are not bad, blacks are not minor, and blacks cannot be suppressed. In 1990, he was finally released after being acquitted of treason. Just 4 years later, in 1994, 27th April, Africa is free from apartheid, and Nelson Mandela becomes Africa's president, being in the African National Congress. He is now the world's idol against how he defeated apartheid. After being elected as the president of South Africa, this is his first speech addressing the parliament.
Level of government, a public works program designed and all efforts made to involve the private sector, organized labor, the civics, and other community organizations to rebuild our townships, restore services in rural and urban areas, while addressing the issue of job creation and training, especially for our unemployed youth.
After being the president of South Africa in 1999, just 5 years later of his first term, he did not get elected as the president of South Africa the second time and got succeeded by another person named Becky in 1999. This is his last and final speech in the parliament.
To the extent that I have been able to take our country forward to this new era, it is because I am the product of the people of the world who have cherished the vision of a better life for all people everywhere. They insisted in a spirit of self-sacrifice that that vision should be realized in South Africa too. They gave us hope because we knew by their solidarity that our ideas could not be silenced since they were the ideas of humanity. I am the product of Africa and her long cherished dream of a rebirth that can now be realized so that all of her children may play in the sun. I will count myself as among the aged of our society, as one of the rural population, as one concerned for the children and youth of our country, and as a citizen of the world, committed, as long as I have the strength, to work for a better life for all people everywhere. And as I have always done, I will do what I can within the discipline of the broad movement for peace and democracy to which I belong. You have ensured that this parliament is no rubber stamp in the hands of government, and you have given back to the extent that we have still to reconcile and heal our nation, to the extent that the consequences of apartheid still permeate our society and define the lives of millions of South Africans as lives of deprivation. Those challenges are unchanged.
After going through a lot of trouble for Africa, as opposed to being in Robben Island, held captive for 27 years, Nelson Mandela, also being Africa's first head of state to be black and fully elected black representative and the president of South Africa, and doing a lot of achievements throughout his life, writing notable works like I Am Prepared to Die. Nelson Mandela finally dies in December 3rd, 2013, at the age of 95, due to a prolonged respiratory disease. Even after his farewell and his death, he'll still be in our hearts today as we celebrate the World Nelson Mandela Day on 18th July 2021. He will continue to be our idols and be in our hearts till this day, and Africa and the world will remember him for his sacrifice for his country.
When I found some place in my country and a lady answered the telephone, I then asked, "To whom am I speaking?" She said, "You're speaking to me." I said, "Well, lady, I know I'm speaking to you, but what's your name?" She said, "Who are you to ask for my name? What's your name?" I say, "Well, lady, as soon as you tell me your name, I'll tell you mine." But as we argued as to who should tell his or her name, she became very cross. And she said, "You seem to be a backward person. Have you passed your matric?" Now, matric in our country is a university entry examination. And I said, "Well, lady, you must be very careful. Because if the qualification to speak to you is the possession of a matric certificate, I might work hard and pass my matric and be in the same class as you are." That was treason. She said, "You will never be in my class," and banged the telephone. How I wish she were here today. She would now discover that I have achieved more than pass my matric.
Helele, helele.